Welcome. The third session in our in my Human Design Creative Flow series, and this chapter is Auric types. In Auric types, we're going to talk about the body graph in human design. We're going to touch on the different Auric types. We're going to look at generators and manifesting generators, manifestors, projectors, and reflectors. So these are the 4/5 types within the body graph. This is one of the foundational pieces of wisdom that human design gives us, and understanding some of these foundational layers will certainly get us into a really clear position for opening up to creative flow. So in the body graphs, I'm going to do a little bit of teaching around how to read the body graph. If you're interested in getting deeper into human design in order to access creative flow, it's good to just understand a little bit of a bit of how it works, how it goes together. We've got 9 energy centers. Touched on that in the last session. 9 energy centers based off of the 7 chakras, which have evolved into 9 chakras. So instead of the 7, we now have a spleen in addition to the solar plexus, which is there on the 2 that are on the bottom triangles on either side. And then the other little triangle that's sort of sitting in the middle there, that is the will center. So that's kind of come in. The heart has been divided into the identity center, which is the one in the kind of square in the middle, and that triangle off to the side. Okay, so there are 64 gates. The 64 gates are from the I Ching, the Chinese I Ching. The gates activated at your time of birth are your conscious channels. It's your mind and your personality. So that, like in astrology, like in the natal chart, it's what we sort of think we are. It's our experience of ourselves. 88 days before is also brought into human design, and this represents our unconscious. It's the body and it's the design. So it's more like something that we need to kind of be familiar with, or we can learn or grow in or come into familiarity with that unconscious. But other people are probably seeing it in us because it's the body, and they're recognizing in it us, our subconscious or our unconscious, like easier than we necessarily like pick up ourselves, because we have the mind in the way. As the gates connect to the channels, they create definition. So again, we touched on this in the last session. And here we have an example where that gate 34 in the sacral is connecting up to gate 20 in the throat. So that's creating a channel, which is a defined channel, and it's now creating the definition between those two centers. So those energy center definitions, depending on what your chart, what is defined in your chart, is what will give us the energy type or the auric type. So here are the 4 different types of auras. So although there are 5 different energy types, and there's lots of conflicting information about, about the energy types and auric types. Essentially, all the information is the same. Some people say that the manifesting generator is a subtype. Some people, well, actually, the original material tells us that the manifesting generator came first because it actually has the most definition. But besides that, when we're actually looking at the auras, there are only 4 auric types. So we can certainly look at I think the detail is semantics on what came first or what is or isn't an energy type. But the auric types are certainly very clear. We have the reflector type. 1% of the population are reflectors, and they've got this resistant and sampling auric type. So they are so open, they have only open centers. So what they're doing is when they come interaction with other people, they get to sort of pick up and decide, like, do I want to be around that kind of auric energy? Do I want to take this on? Because they're so open that they're constantly kind of like licking out tendrils, saying like, do I want that? No, I don't want that. Or yes, I'm going to go over here. So they get to taste test and sort of try a lot of different other energy types out. They're reflectors. So it looks like that. Then we've got the manifester. I think the manifestors is around 8% of the population. So manifestors have a closed and repelling type of aura. This is because they're initiators. They're initiating and innovating. They are creating. They're sort of like the beginning spark of an idea. They have the will to achieve something usually, or to manifest it. They have throat activation. They have throat definition. And that throat definition means that they need to speak something and initiate and activate it into being. In order to do that, they need to cut off external influence. So the closed and repelling is in order to protect their energy in initiating and creating something. Of course, if they need something or someone on the pathway to their initiating something or creating something, then they will incorporate that in that closed space. But otherwise, they're kind of protective, and they're sort of like diverting energy because they're really moving in accordance with what they are trying to create and initiate. We've got the generator and the manifesting generator. These make up the majority of the population, something around 70% of the population. And they have the same open and enveloping aura. So this is because they all have generators, and manifesting generators have sacral definition. The sacral has a lot of consistent energy. So basically, it's really here to like kind of be satisfied and fulfilled in what it's putting its consistent energy for. That's why generators and manifesting generators are known to be builders and express builders, because they have the energy to kind of consistently actually get in and do the work to make things happen. But their aura is open and enveloping because where the strategy is about waiting to respond to external stimulus. So there's sort of generators, manifesting generators, are sitting there just sort of like letting their energy beam out so that somebody can come along and like offer them a job or ask them to be involved in a job, and they get to accept whether or not they like it's correct for them to use their stable energy for that project or to get that thing done. And that's how we're kind of interacting between each other. So a manifestor might create the new idea and then get the generators and the manifesting generators to actually build their idea. Then we've got the projectors, who are focused and absorbing. So you can see like they've kind of got this tunnel vision where what they're focused on, they're really like absorbing it, but they're able to give really directed advice on what to do with the energy. So the projectors are working with the generators and the manifesting generators to target that energy. So the generators and the manifesting generators have all this energy, and then the projectors come along and say, I think it would be a really good idea if you used your energy specifically in this way. That's when it's going to be really effective. So the projectors and the generators are getting together to just activate what the manifestors are creating. And the reflectors get to come along and sample and taste test whether or not, it's working efficiently, effectively. Is it healthy? It's like it's able to reflect back to whether the system is working well, or things are getting built well, etc. So that is kind of how like these auric types are all working together. So here I've sort of touched on already a bit of this. The manifesting generators and the generators both have sacral definition. So the sacral is that middle square second from the bottom. The manifesting generators, the difference is that they do have a motor to the throat. So one of the energy sensors is connected to the throat, and they've also got the sacral, meaning that they can express what they need to create or what they're putting their energy to. So they have an element of manifestation there, but they also have the ability to build quickly. They can sort of work out what steps can be missed. Sometimes they miss too many steps and have to go backwards, but they can move quite quickly. So the generator and the manifesting generator both wait to respond. They're waiting for, again, it's not so much an invitation, but to respond to external stimulus. So maybe there is an opportunity that is for them, or they, see some inspiration somewhere, or an advertisement or a letter in the mail or something that they feel a physical pull towards. So once their body actually picks them up and pulls them physically towards that, they kind of have that feeling of alignment and that energy to put their energy towards that thing that they're responding to. Generators are better off having a little bit more consistency in their building. They sort of stick to something for a bit longer and see it out. Whereas the manifesting generators tend to have more projects. They're kind of floating around between lots of different projects. They're feeling satisfied or frustrated. So satisfaction is the feeling that they'll get when that alignment is working really well. And they'll be feeling more frustrated when things aren't opening up and being as aligned. But that frustration can be used as a tool so that they kind of can redirect into the right area. Manifestors with throat definition, they have a motor to the throat. Manifestors don't have the sacral definition, which means that they have a little bit less energy. So they're really good at manifesting, with their defined will center and speaking something into action. What they're really to kind of create this pathway for them to be able to move and act and create something, or to initiate, they need to inform people before they act. So if they say they're not asking for permission, they are letting someone know that they have a intention, that they will be creating something, and then letting people kind of get out of their way so that they can actually get through. They sort of create a portal of time, which then the other auric types, the other energy types, can now come in and sort of like start to move through that portal. Their theme is peace and anger. So when they're in positive alignment, they're going to be feeling peace. When they're kind of coming up against a lot of challenges, they're going to feel that anger. Again, the anger can be used to redirect them into something more peaceful when they're aware of that theme. The projectors have no sacral definition. They're waiting for recognition and an invitation. So projectors are waiting for an informal invitation, and they need to be recognized for their skills. Projectors are really good at mastering systems, and again, they have that focused and absorbing energy. So when they are recognized, they can get invited to give the piece of advice that they need to direct that energy of the generator. If they do jump in without that invitation, the generators sometimes can be completely deaf to hearing their wisdom, and they'll be blocked off from them, and it's kind of like no good, no use to anyone. So it's clarity of waiting for that recognition and invitation so that they can be heard. Their theme is success and bitterness. So they're going to be feeling successful when they're recognized and receive those invitations, and otherwise, like, can be a bit bitter about offering advice that isn't being received or actioned or listened to. And of course, they know that it was great information, or great direction. They will be the directors of the future as we kind of wake up to this, to understanding their unique wisdom. And the reflector is the last auric type we have here. They have no defined centers, so they have no channels connecting. They operate by the lunar cycle, so they're waiting for 28 days before they're making decisions. And they're really mirroring the people around them, reflecting very openly the state or the status of the community around them. Again, resisting and sampling in that aura. Their theme is surprise and disappointment. So they're wanting to feel a sense of awe. If they're feeling awe, like, oh, like, oh, this is awesome, like they're really like feeling that fully, then they're going to be in that positive alignment. But if they're constantly disappointed with the conditions around them, then it could be a sign that they're either not in the right place, or the people around them are really not in alignment, or they're really, really out of alignment. Because reflectors are only 1% of the population, if you look around and you've got no reflectors, then I'm not going to say like it necessarily means you're in an unhealthy environment, but you may not be in the most healthy environment. So I've seen, reflectors in places like Bali or Costa Rica, or sort of like traveling near the ocean, where there's probably communities that are quite into alignment, or quite focused on having a very balanced and relaxed and yielding way of existing in connection to nature. So that's where our reflectors will be. I wish that more of our society was a good condition for reflectors, because that's who we like. That is the ultimate state. When we have places and community where the reflectors are healthy and well nurtured, that's what we want to use as the blueprint for the way that the rest of the world should be. Because yeah, they're the most vulnerable and open to influence. So when we're protecting our most vulnerable is when we have a really healthy system. That's the end of today, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for the next session. I'm not going to say what it is. I'll leave it as a surprise. Okay, see you then.